Hey, this is Jesse Stay of hashtag Geek Greens. So today I want to show you one of the biggest annoyances I have in my garden, and that is worms in the apples. So worms in the apples. You guys probably, if you've grown apples before, sometimes pears. I have the biggest problem with apples for some reason. Other fruits it can apply to as well. But whatever fruits are having issues with worms, you may pick up an apple, and inside the apple you'll see little gross parts on the apple. Hard to say what it looks like, but it has little gross little brownish stuff on the outside of the apple, and then you take a bite in the apple, and inside you see this gross brownish stuff, and then maybe a little worm. Well, those are codling moths, and codling moths are prone to they're little moths that come and they fly and they lay their eggs in the apple trees or other fruit trees, and their babies, aka the worms, go in after they're born and they burrow into these apples and are fed by the apples for the first part of their life until they become a pretty little butterfly. So today I'm going to show you how the only way. I've tried everything. I have tried, you name it, I've tried everything. You've seen some of my other videos. I tried parasitic wasps. I tried putting little stuff around the tree to get the worms to stick to it, and none of that has worked. Suppose if I give it long enough, if I put beneficials around the tree, beneficial plants and beneficial flowers, there'll be wasps that will be attracted and will end up eating the codling moths and stuff. But until that point, I've had to do stuff to try and prevent them. And I figured out one solution that works perfectly. It worked last year almost to a T. Worked really well. No worms at all in my apples, and that is bagging your apples. So let me show you real quick. I'm going to show you first of all. You can see back there. Right there you can see a few apples that I've started bagging, doing with little plastic baggies. And I want to take you into my office and I'll show you how I cut the bags and prepare them to put on the trees. And then I'll show you how we put them on the trees. So stay tuned. I'll take you over and let's go to my office. I'll show you how to do that. Right now I'm going to show you how to create the bags that you put around the apples. The first thing you need is you need a bag or a box of bags. You can take these. I just get the cheapest Ziploc bag box that I can find, or just take whatever you got lying around the house. That's usually what I do. I find what's laying around. Grab a box. You're probably gonna need a couple hundred, depending on how many trees you've got, and it does take some patience. If you're thinning out your apples or such, it's a good time to bag at the same time so that you can thin and bag at the same time, because with that you've got to go through every single apple or fruit on your trees and in order to thin. So but it's kind of calming and relaxing to do, so it's to me it's totally worth it, and it saves you all the hassle of dealing with worms later in the season. So if you're looking for something therapeutic that gets you out in nature and cheers you up a bit, get out and bag some apples. So right now the first thing we got is Ziploc bags. I've got 50 here. I don't know if this will be enough. We may need to get more. We'll find out. Open it up. You got the bags inside here, and then scissors, and that's pretty much all you need. Now I've seen people do this with paper bags as well, and use paper bags and maybe tie them around with a twist tie or something like that. You can do that as well, but I like this method better just because you've got an automatic way of tying around the apples with this. Plus, you can reuse these when they're done. With paper bags, you can recycle them and compost them afterwards if you want. But these, I just take all the leftover bags and put them in a bigger bag, which I've got one right here, and store that over the winter. And eventually they'll start to wear down. You can throw them away at that point, but this encourages reuse of the bags. So I like doing it this way. Okay, so doing the bags is actually quite simple. All you have to do is right here, you've got, let me show you, you've got the Ziploc part here that closes. we need to create a place for the stem of the apple to go in, and right around the middle, it's really somewhere near the middle. We need to cut through and go all the way to the very end of the Ziploc, so that the Ziploc is cut all the way through, but not any further, because you don't want to allow too much of a hole for the worms to get in. So what you do is you go in, take your scissors, and I usually just measure them up with the Ziploc about right there, and just cut through like that. And as you can see, the Ziploc is cut all the way through here. I hope you can see that on the video. It's cut all the way through here, and then you've got that. Now the other part is you need to allow some air for the apples, or the apples will just rot inside because there's no air. The apples still have to breathe. So what I like to do, some people will cut them all the way across the corners here. I like to cut almost all the way across, and then we're not wasting plastic. So I just cut almost all the way there. And same for this side over here. I'll cut almost all the way across. So there's a hole in the bottoms here, and you can see, stick my finger in, there's a hole in there now, and that will allow it to air out, allow the apple to air out. And in general, the worms will climb up the stem and try and get to the apples. They're not going to know well enough to get on the bag and go through the bag. I think the bag's actually a little harder for them to attach to. So I found this works quite well, and so I left just a little corner here, so that otherwise I'd be throwing these pieces away, and that's just waste. And especially with plastic doesn't really recycle well, despite what people say. So I want to save and reuse as much of the plastic as I can. Ideally, maybe we would use paper bags, and that would be another option, but these are cheaper, and cost-wise, I've wanted to go this way. So with these, now all you do is you open up one side of the plastic bag, like that, leave the other side attached, you stick your apple through, and the stem will stick through this part right here, and then you seal it back up, and then the apple will hang inside. And you saw that on the tree earlier. So let's go outside now, and I will show you how to attach this to the apple. Again, it's that simple, and I will do this with every one of these bags here. So now that we've created the bags, now we've got to go out to the apple tree and bag some apples. I've got a couple of apples right here, so we're going to go ahead and bag. Now normally I would probably thin these to just about 1 per clump. This tree is actually shown to do well without thinning, and last year it had a complete break from producing because there was a late winter. Now maybe that was a sign of not thinning, hard to say, but it still produced big apples the last time we did this when I didn't thin it out. So I'm going to try it again this year, see how the apples produce. It is a nice, mature, large tree with lots of roots, so this one is probably safe to not thin. And you can test this out and such. Just know that when you don't thin, typically you could end up with weaker trees, so you do want to thin. And I'll do another episode on thinning apples at some point. But we can bag them. So that's what we're going to do this time. So to bag them, in my pocket behind camera here, I've got a pocket full of the bags that we just made. And as you can see, we've got the two holes right here and the one hole right here. And what we do, as I showed you earlier, is we open up one side right here. And then what I like to do, you just stick the apple in, and I just kind of pull on it till it hits the other side there, and then I close it, and that's it right there. That's one done. We'll do another one here. Pull it from my pocket. Here's the bag. Open up one side here, and put it in the bag, pull against the other side that's closed, and seal it. like so. And I'll do this with each and every single apple, and those will grow. And let me show you right here. I've got one right here. You can see these I've already done, and you can see the moisture already in here. This is why we have to have the holes here. There has to be a place for the moisture to escape, and that moisture can escape pretty easily now, for the most part, so that the apple in there doesn't die and rot. But that's why we do the little holes here. But that's what they end up looking like. All right, so there we have it. Over here, where am I? Over here, behind me, we've got bagged apples on my apple tree. I'll do this with every single apple tree out that I have, try and get every single apple that I can. I might leave one or two for the birds. The birds do like to eat them, but this protects them from worms. It also does protect them from birds as well. But this will make sure that the worms can't get in the apples. Just one little note real quick, on that one I showed you that had the moisture inside the bag. If you see a little moisture inside the bag, that often means that there's not enough air getting through. And what I did on that is I actually just pulled open the two ends a little. Those were closed a little bit, and I just pulled them open so the air could get in, so that there was a nice opening in there. Just keep an eye on that. If moisture does stay in there, the apple will rot, and you don't want that. That's the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. But I found that the majority of your apples will end up turning out just fine. No worms. This is the best and the only way I've been able to come up with. I've tried everything to prevent the worms from getting in your apples, and believe me, I had a huge problem before this. So this is what I'm doing now. Ideally, maybe as I get more predators to the worms and such, I can reduce the amount I have to do on this, which is why I do leave a few apples here and there, because I do want to still attract predators as much as I can. But for the most part, this is a really good way, a guaranteed way. If you want to spend some time, it is nice and relaxing. I'll go out just middle of the day, on a Sunday, on a day you want to just come out and enjoy nature. I come out and do this. So anyway, this is bagging your apples in the way I do it, the Geek Greens way. Let me know if you have any other ways of doing it yourself. Let me know in the comments, and maybe there's some other ways of getting rid of the worms in your apples that I'm unaware of, that work without spraying or using any sort of pesticide or anything like that. Anyway, I'm Jesse Stay, the social geek of #GeekGreens.